Very good morning and welcome to our daily devotion. Today we'll be looking at Psalm chapter 127. First, we'll have a brief overview of the psalm before we delve into a small point of reflection. So, turn to your Bibles, either physical or digital, whichever's to your comfort, and let's get into it. So, looking at the brief overview of the psalm, and this psalm is attributed to King Solomon, and this psalm was most likely written by King Solomon when he began building the great temple in Jerusalem. And yeah, so looking at a brief overview of the psalm, and from verses 1 to 2, Solomon says how unless the Lord builds the house, meaning the Lord builds the temple, everything will be in vain. And then from verses 3 to 5, he says that children are a heritage, and that how blessed are the man whose quiver is full. So in the first part, it talks how uh, unless the presence of God and unless it's God's will to build this house, it will all be in vain. And then in the latter part, he goes on to say how children are a blessing and how blessed is the man whose quiver is full. So the main takeaway from our psalm is going to be from verse 1, which is unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain. Who built it? Unless the Lord guards the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. So, focusing on this psalm, that's this verse also. Our main takeaway is that it's again very simple, and it's a difficult thing for us to, in a way, to realize. And the thing that I want us to understand from this psalm is that our effort will be meaningless if it's not pleasing to God, if it's not part of God's plan, if it's not pleasing to God's eye, if it's not done without God's blessing. So that is what King Solomon, the wisest king, he himself is saying that this temple that I am building for the Lord, now this is not something that he's doing for his own gain. This is a temple that he's building for God. And he's saying that this temple that I am building for God will be in vain unless the Lord is there building this house, unless the Lord is blessing us in this work. So even the wisest man of all, King Solomon, acknowledges that unless this is what the Lord wills, it will all be in vain. Similarly, in our lives, we may feel a lot of effort. We may put a lot of effort in a lot of things, and at the end, we may feel like I am not reaping the benefits. First of all, we have to understand that, not just understand, we have to be assured that this is something that is pleasing to the Lord. Now, there are a lot of things that I could say as an example, but to keep it simple, first of all, when we are about to partake on a journey or partake on an avenue or partake on a goal, it is first a wise thing to do, which is to pray and ask God for his guidance and ask God for his a sign per se, or ask God for his assurance that this is something that is pleasing for his eye, that this is something that he is willing for us to do, and this is something that he will be with us to do. If we in a way walk away from God and do something that is of our own interest, that is of our own benefit, without Lord's blessing, then as King Solomon says, unless the Lord builds this choice that we are making, it will be in vain. So we have to acknowledge that without God's blessing, without God's grace, all of our works are in vain. That we may give our best, but sometimes we will fall short, and it's a reality check where we should say that, oh God, is this something that I'm doing that is not pleasing to your eye? Is this not something that you have planned for me? Is this not something that you have meant for me? So at times when our human efforts fail, or which is all the time, we have to acknowledge first of all that when it fails, that we are doing something that is not pleasing to the Lord's eye. And secondly, when it succeeds, we have to acknowledge that it is through God's blessing that it has succeeded. So that is what I want us to take away from this. Thank you.